The Springs Radio Real Estate Show. I'm Cheryl Garlock with Colorado Front Range Properties, your host on the show. Now, I've got to tell you, Martin was just sort of kidding around with me, but, he just came back from France.
I did. I was at the D-Day celebrations with my father, who is 90 years old and
wow.
World War II vet.
That's fabulous, Martin. That's great. And he's even dressed in French style. You've got a nice, beautiful lavender or purple
Absolutely.
color. And what are you wearing to accommodate the nice socks that are purple as well?
Matching socks.
Absolutely. I hear that those kind of colors get a man more noticed.
I can only imagine they do.
Okay. All right. Now listen, folks. All right. Seriousness all aside here. I really want, or comic all aside, whatever. Okay. I really want to talk to you about, if you're thinking about selling your home, who do you want to sell your home? Do you always want a top producer?
I don't know. Do I?
I don't know. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But here's something you really need to be thinking about when you're hiring somebody to sell your home. And a lot of times agents will come in and will promote themselves as, I'm a top producer. I sell 10 million homes in a year, or 100 homes in a year, or 300 homes in a year, depending on your market or whatever. What you have to ask yourself is, what kind of service are you going to get after they list your home? And that's a big, big deal there. You need to know from the get-go what kind of service that you want.
Well, they're the advocate, aren't they?
They are the advocate. The agent is going to be your advocate. So if the agent is going to be your advocate, that means they got to be able to have time to pay attention to your particular situation and your needs. A lot of times these top producers will go ahead and have a staff of people, and what they will go ahead and do, and I'm not saying everything's wrong with having a staff of people, but what they do is they go in and take that listing and they go ahead and hand the listing, after it's all done, hand it off to the staff for the staff to entirely process and handle everything else. Now, legally, of course, in order to actually do any kind of real estate transactions, you have to have a license. So the agent will step back in to handle any contract work, but everything else will get handed off to them, presumably. Now, sometimes things get a little bit iffy when miscellaneous addenda come into the picture here, and somebody maybe doesn't want to always deal with that. They may try to hand that off to staff, or maybe think that it should get ignored. That is not in your best interest. You're paying paying somebody a lot of money.
You're paying a lot of money. I mean, my biggest one is appraisals. We went through a refinance, and that was just, I can only imagine the complexity if people weren't around to help you with, what happens if the appraisal comes in slightly off and
that's
you're 20% down and you're arguing.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you something too, is that, when you go to closing on a real estate transaction, you definitely expect your agent to be there.
I would.
Because they are your advocate. And you have to remember, and a lot of people make this mistake in the real estate industry, they figure, the title company handles everything because they are the closing agent. They are, but they do not handle negotiations. That is out of the purview of the scope of their duties there. They only do what's written on the contract form. So if an 11th hour problem happens to surface, which it can and does, okay?
Amazing amount of time it does.
Yes, an amazing amount of time it does. You need your agent on site at the closing to be your advocate, because nobody else is going to be there to do it for you.
Absolutely.
And especially if you have to write all of a sudden a new addendum, or you have to close in what we call escrow in this state or something goes awry, you need your agent right there on the spot to be able to handle that and counsel. Remember, you're paying a lot of money, sometimes $12,000, $20,000, $30,000 or more for commissions, and you expect to have that representation right there. Now, when you're also thinking about listing your home for sale and selecting your agent, let me tell you very quickly some numbers you need to know. You want your agent that you select to be able to give you numbers about the inventory. What's really the inventory in your market and in your subdivision? The average sales price. You need to know what the average sales price is in your area, and what the market appreciation rate is for your immediate area. Comparing one part of the north end of town to the south end of town does not work.
And you're in a good thing. You said appreciation. About a year ago, you were saying depreciation.
Exactly. And the market trends are up. You also need to know about the days on market, how long properties tend to stay on market in your immediate area. You need to know the history behind the sales price to list price ratio. What did they actually sell for? And by the way, right now, a lot of areas, Stetson Hills is getting 99%. That's pretty darn good. And then lastly, the absorption rate. Now the absorption rate is really an important figure. It's how many months of inventory supply do we have to sell that. And in a lot of our areas it's fast, but on average for the whole area here, it's around 3.5 months, which is a far cry better than what it was
Well, it was
a year
18
ago.
months at one time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of those absorption rates, okay, when we have, this is something to put in your memory bank, so to speak. When you know it's a seller's market, it's when the market inventory or absorption rate is 1 to 4 months of inventory. That's more of a seller's market. A normal market is when the inventory is at around 5 to 6 months of supply. And of course, a buyer's market is when it's beyond 7 months and beyond. So we really are approaching more and more of a seller's market as we move forward and as our economy recovers.
If it's a 1 month of inventory, that goes fast. That's when there's bidding wars on your house.
Absolutely. That's what's happening in Denver, and Colorado Springs is trailing right behind it. Hey, thank you for joining us on the show today. And remember, call 719-321-7600. I'm Cheryl Garlock, and I want to be your realtor, and I want to help you. Martin wants to help you, too.
I do, too.
Give me a call, 719-321-7600, and visit SpringsRadioRealEstate.com to search all the homes for sale in our community.